Welcome to NOXTalks, the AI-generated podcast exploring the groundbreaking ways technology shapes our built environment. Today, we're diving into the fast-moving world of open-source building management systems, why they're suddenly on every facilities manager's radar, and what you need to watch out for. Picture this. You're nursing the first coffee of the day, scanning yet another vendor email about mandatory license renewals, and wondering why your aging BMS costs more to feed than the building's espresso machine. You're not alone. Analysts peg the BMS market at roughly 19.8 billion US dollars this year, with double-digit growth expected for the next decade. Every upgrade decision matters. That's where open source struts onto the stage. No recurring license fees, freedom from vendor lock-in, and a developer community pushing fresh code faster than you can say, firmware update. One regional hospital that swapped its 2010 controls for an open BACnet SC modeled annual energy savings of 30 to 50 cents per square foot and cut live cutover downtime to under an hour per subsystem. Fun fact, the project team found that simply exposing coil cleaning reminders in an open dashboard trimmed their HVAC runtime by 4%, proof that transparency can be just as powerful as automation. But cost isn't the only headline. Source-level access means you can bolt on a Modbus or MQTT driver in weeks, sometimes days, rather than waiting for the next big firmware drop. Early adopters report capital plus OPEX reductions north of 30%, although mileage definitely varies with legacy gear. Remember, an unlocked toolbox still needs the right tools. Now let's flip the coin. Industry surveys show that 3 out of 4 organizations still run BMS installations with at least one known exploitable vulnerability. Open or proprietary, exposed is exposed, but open platforms put the code in everyone's hands, good guys and bad. Add in last year's XZUtils backdoor fiasco. Yes, attackers hid malware inside a foundational compression library, and you start to see why security pros get twitchy. Here's a stat that usually hushes the room. 44% of open source projects rely on a single maintainer. That's a risky bus factor, especially if that person's day job changes, or they literally miss the bus. So what's the game plan? First, governance. Bake software bills of materials into every contract and demand a 90-day vulnerability response agreement. Second, embrace zero trust. Segmented VLANs, read-only traffic to legacy gear, and API gateways that don't hand out credentials like candy. Third, budget about 20% of your annual OT security spend for patching and container updates. Think of it as a cyber flu shot subscription. And don't forget people. Cross-train your BAS techs on Git Basics and Docker. Then formalize a digital custodian role so documentation doesn't vanish with the intern who wrote it. Ready to test the waters? Start tiny, a single air handler or lighting zone, with crystal clear KPIs. Track energy, uptime, and cyber posture. If the pilot purrs, rinse, and repeat across the portfolio. If it wheezes, you've contained the blast radius. Let's ground this with a real-world snapshot. A Canadian university recently migrated 12 research buildings to an open platform, but only after mapping every device, 31,000 points, in a simple spreadsheet. That low-tech inventory uncovered 2 rogue chillers, pulling 40% more amps than spec. Fixing just those saved enough electricity to power an entire dorm floor for a year. Sometimes the gold is hiding in plain sight. Another example, an industrial bakery in Melbourne added a GitHub pull request workflow for BMS setpoint tweaks. Suddenly, line supervisors could suggest changes, engineers could review them, and everyone saw the audit trail. Average change approval time dropped from 5 days to under 24 hours, and weekend callouts fell by half. Collaboration isn't just warm and fuzzy, it's measurable. Yet open source isn't a silver bullet. Think of it more like choosing Android over iOS. You gain freedom and customization, but you also shoulder responsibility for updates and hygiene. Skip 3 security patches and you're the soft target in the room. So the next time that renewal reminder pings your inbox, maybe, just maybe, pause, sip your coffee, and ask, is it time we cracked open the code? Because the real question isn't whether open source is right forever. It's whether it's right for the next step in your building story. And that, friends, is a decision worth making with eyes wide open and toolbox at the ready.